Stop being afraid of sweets. Right now, I'm going to tell you something that will completely change everything you thought you knew about sugar, desserts, and your heart. Maybe for years you've been told sweets are the enemy. Sweets clog your blood vessels. Sweets ruin your heart. But what if I told you there are sweets that don't destroy your heart, but actually strengthen it? That after eating them, your blood vessels become more elastic and your heart starts working like a Swiss watch? Watch this video all the way to the end because in the final part, I'll tell you about 3 foods that cardiologists keep in their own homes and eat almost every day. Foods that almost nobody talks about openly. Let's start with the biggest misconception. People confuse sugar with sweet taste. These are not the same thing. Refined sugar, that white powder added to soda, candy, and industrially produced pastries, yes, that really can cause problems when consumed frequently and in excess. It spikes blood glucose sharply, forces the pancreas to work overtime, and over time this can affect the condition of your blood vessels. But nature works differently. Many naturally sweet foods contain not just sugar, but an entire complex of substances: antioxidants, polyphenols, magnesium, potassium, plant fiber, that work in the opposite direction. They don't burden the heart, they support it. Before we get into specific foods, let's pause for a moment and think about where this widespread fear of sweets even came from. Just a few decades ago, sugar was considered a fairly harmless source of energy. Then the pendulum swung the other way, and all sugar without exception got demonized. The diet industry grew on top of this fear, offering substitutes, sweeteners, and promises to lose weight without any sacrifice at all. But the truth, as usual, isn't found in extremes. It's somewhere in the middle. Our bodies, over millions of years of evolution, were built to get sweet taste from fruit, honey, berries. In other words, from natural sources where sweetness always came bundled with fiber, vitamins, and water. The problem today isn't that we love sweet things. The problem is that we started getting sweetness disconnected from its natural context, in a refined, concentrated form, stripped of any real benefit. Let's take dark chocolate with a high cocoa content, for example. Real quality chocolate, at least 70% cocoa, it contains flavonoids, powerful natural compounds that help widen blood vessels and improve blood flow. Many studies in cardiology over the past 20 years show that moderate, regular consumption of this kind of chocolate is linked to healthier blood vessel walls. We're not talking about chocolate bars loaded with nuts and caramel. We're talking specifically about dark, bitter chocolate. A small piece, about 2 or 3 squares a few times a week, that's a reasonable portion that can become part of taking care of your heart. Here's an interesting fact. The more bitter the chocolate tastes, the higher its concentration of beneficial flavonoids usually is. So, if the taste feels a bit too sharp for you, that's actually a good sign, not a reason to avoid it. The second food that will surprise a lot of people is honey. Real, natural honey, not the sugar syrup that sometimes gets sold under that name. Honey contains antioxidants that fight oxidative stress in the body, and oxidative stress is considered one of the factors that speeds up the aging of blood vessels. A spoonful of honey in warm, not boiling, water first thing in the morning is an old habit that exists across different cultures around the world for centuries. It won't work miracles overnight, but used regularly, it can become a pleasant and beneficial ritual. I want to specifically stress the word warm water, not boiling. At too high a temperature, some of the beneficial enzymes and compounds in honey simply break down, and the product turns into plain sugar water. The third hero on our list is berries. Yes, berries are also a sweet treat, just a natural one. Blueberries, raspberries, blackberries, cherries. They taste sweet, but they contain minimal calories and maximum benefit. Berries are rich in anthocyanins, the pigments that give them their bright color and at the same time protect blood vessels from damage. Regular berry consumption is linked to improved artery elasticity and reduced inflammation in the body. A handful of fresh or frozen berries at breakfast is a simple step that can bring real benefits over time. Here's something especially nice. Frozen berries barely lose out to fresh ones in terms of nutrient content, so even in winter you can keep this simple, accessible habit going. Now let's talk about why our attitude towards sweets matters just as much as what's actually in the food. Chronically depriving yourself of anything that brings pleasure becomes a source of stress in itself. And chronic stress is one of the most powerful factors that damages the heart and blood vessels. Cortisol, the stress hormone, when it stays elevated for a long time, contributes to higher blood pressure, disrupted lipid metabolism, and wear on the vessel walls. So here's the paradox. A person gives up sweets out of fear of harming their heart, but the constant feeling of deprivation and irritation hits the heart harder than a small piece of quality chocolate every couple of days. That's why the modern approach in nutrition and cardiology is shifting from total prohibition toward balance. What matters isn't the amount of sugar by itself, it's the source, the quality, and the context. A glass of soda loaded with artificial additives and a piece of dark chocolate with nuts are two completely different worlds, even though both taste sweet. Let's look at another interesting point: dates. This food is often underrated, and that's a mistake. Dates are a natural concentrate of sweetness, and they're also rich in potassium, which is essential for the heart muscle to function properly. Potassium helps regulate heart rhythm and maintain normal blood pressure. 2 or 3 dates a day, especially as a replacement for regular candy, can be a simple and delicious way to get benefit instead of harm. In fact, in some cultures, dates are traditionally used as a quick source of energy before physical activity. Thanks to the combination of natural sugars and fiber, that energy gets released more gradually without a sharp spike and crash. And what about nuts paired with chocolate or honey? Walnuts, almonds, hazelnuts? These are sources of healthy fats that, combined with natural sweetness, create a perfect duo for the heart. Fats slow down sugar absorption, smoothing out blood glucose spikes, which means less strain on the blood vessels. Here's a simple recipe you can try today. A few dates, stuffed with half a walnut, lightly dipped in melted dark chocolate. It's not just healthy, it's genuinely delicious, and it barely feels different from a regular dessert. We also can't skip cinnamon. It's not exactly a sweet on its own, but it often shows up alongside sweet dishes and desserts. Some studies suggest cinnamon may help regulate blood sugar levels, which makes it a great addition to the natural sweets we're talking about. A pinch of cinnamon and honey in a berry smoothie or sprinkled on dark chocolate is a simple way to boost both flavor and benefit. Now, here's an important point that can't be skipped. Everything we're talking about today is not a universal cure, and it doesn't replace medical supervision. If you already have a diagnosed heart condition, vascular disease, diabetes, or any other chronic condition, make sure to consult your doctor before changing your eating habits. This video isn't medical advice, it's information meant to encourage reflection and a conversation with your own specialist. Taking care of your health starts with awareness, not with blindly following advice from the internet, no matter how convincing it sounds. Coming back to our main topic, picture an ordinary day for a second. Morning doesn't start with guilt over wanting something sweet, but with a conscious choice. A cup of warm water with a spoonful of honey, a handful of berries with breakfast, a few dates during the day instead of store-bought cookies, and in the evening, as a small reward for the day, a square of dark chocolate. This isn't a diet of deprivation. It's a lifestyle where sweets stop being the enemy and become an ally. Many people who make this shift notice not just a subjective improvement in how they feel, but also more stable mood, fewer sharp energy crashes throughout the day, and, importantly, the disappearance of that constant guilt tied to food. And as we already mentioned, psychological state is directly connected to the health of your cardiovascular system. There's one more factor worth mentioning here: movement. No sweet food, no matter how beneficial, can replace physical activity. Regular walking, light exercise, moving throughout the day multiply the positive effect of eating well. The heart is a muscle, and like any muscle, it needs regular, manageable exertion to stay strong and resilient. Even 20 to 30 minutes of a relaxed walk each day, combined with mindful eating, can produce a noticeable result for your overall well being over time. So let's sum up everything we've covered. Fear of sweets is often based on confusing two different things: refined sugar and natural sweetness. Dark chocolate, natural honey, berries, and dates are foods that, when eaten sensibly and in moderation, can support the health of your blood vessels and heart rather than damage them. What matters isn't total deprivation, but a conscious, balanced choice. And of course, regular physical activity and a conversation with your doctor remain the foundation of any approach to health. If this video was helpful and taught you something new, hit the like button. It genuinely helps this channel grow and share content like this with more people. Let me know in the comments which of these foods you already include in your diet and which one you want to try after watching this video. Subscribe to the channel so you don't miss future videos about health, nutrition, and simple habits that can change your quality of life. Take care of yourself, take care of your heart, and remember, taking care of your health doesn't have to be boring or full of restrictions. Sometimes the tastiest path turns out to be the healthiest one too. See you in the next video.